What color is that one? It's so pretty. Okay, so the kids are on the deck having a lunch picnic. It's a beautiful day in Virginia. It is like going to be 64 degrees today. Tomorrow's going to be 77, and then it's going to be in the 50s for the rest of the 10-day forecast. So we're trying to enjoy it as much as possible. And it is, when I'm filming this, 2 weeks and a couple days till Thanksgiving. So I'm going to go ahead and get some pies going. We're just eating pies as our weekly dessert. On Thanksgiving Day, our friends actually are not pie people, which is totally fine. So I am making a pecan pie for this week. I'm going to go ahead and make a pumpkin pie for next week. And then on Thanksgiving, I'm going to make the Libby's pumpkin cream cheese roll. It's like a Swiss roll, if you know what that is. Like, think cinnamon roll unsliced, but it's a cake form. Or like the Little Debbie Swiss roll, it's like that. So I am going to be making the Betty Crocker pecan pie. I love pecan pie. I have never made it, so this is kind of an adventure for me as well. This pie crust recipe I just know in my head. I found it online somewhere. Don't know where. I'll write it in the description box below. It's the easiest thing to remember. This is just for one pie crust because it's a one pie crust for a pecan pie. I don't know if you know, the kids are like laughing so loud on the deck. So it is 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of lard, and I'm using the pork lard from Fatworks. I got this from Thrive, and I have another jar. This one's almost done. It's just very easy for me to mentally remember. It's 1 cup of flour, and I use the half cup measure, so it makes it even easier. So I don't have to clean anything else. And then you add 2 to 3 tablespoons of ice cold water. So this part you can absolutely do with a pastry cutter if you want to. I just use my hands, and I find this very zen, cutting fat into flour for some reason. I feel like this whole different part of my life has opened up because I am an 80s kid, so I grew up being afraid of fats. Everything was fat-free, and you know, I'll let you be the judge of how you eat, but from what I've researched, that's really not the case anymore. Fat is good. So like the idea of making pie crust with lard was probably something my grandmother did, and or Crisco, and nobody does that anymore. So I tried this crust, I don't know, a year ago, and it's so good. I can never go back to a butter pie crust. So this is the 2 tablespoons of ice water, and I just do this by hand. I used to use a food processor when I had one that does really well for pie crust. But this is just so simple, so simple. I don't even add salt to it. You could. How much would I add here? 1/4 teaspoon of salt if you wanted to. I feel like there's salt in the lard, so I don't use it. And then it's crumbly, but it's gonna come together here in a second. And I love this big bowl because then I don't have to dirty my countertop at this point either. This is my mini Jamarelle bowl, if you know what I'm talking about. It's another YouTuber. She's amazing. She has this big, beautiful family in Shenandoah, across the mountain, from what I gather, is where she lives, in Virginia as well. So she makes large meals and has this massive bowl, which I don't have the need for a bowl that big, but this bowl I bought separately on Amazon a few years ago, and it has come in handy for so many things. So my dough is ready to go. Clean the bowl, get every last thing. Scrape like it's your Christmas bonus. I missed a couple pieces. And then I'm just going to wrap this up. This is beeswax wrap, in case you're curious. Is this Thrive or Grove? I don't even know. So 1 little disc, try to get as much off my fingers as I can. And then I'm just gonna wrap this up and chill it. It's 11:30 now. I probably will get back to this around like 2, just the way my kids work. But probably minimum an hour, put it in the refrigerator. not winning any glamour awards, but there we have it. I did have a hole in the bottom, and I just pushed some extra dough in there. I don't cut off my edge. I love pie crust, so I don't waste any of it. I just tuck it in and did, you know, my best to crimp. I don't want any of the filling, I'm assuming, to leak, so I wanted to make sure that there was no holes in the bottom. But, you know, it's very forgiving. It may not look the prettiest, but it's gonna be delicious. All right, so now I'm gonna get the filling ready for it. It does not say anything about par baking, so I'm not going to. I'm gonna put the filling right in here and throw it right in the oven. Okay, I feel like I'm running out of room here. Okay, so I just have a big bowl. Okay, so I'm going to measure first my pecans. Oh, it says pecans broken. Pretty sure mine are all whole. So, okay, hold on. Let me cut some of these up. I was kind of really hoping that this would need more pecans. I have this big bag. Nobody in my family likes nuts really, except for Matt. He told me he'd eat pecan pie. He didn't grow up with pecan pie, I think. I actually used to be like almond. I ate almonds raw for years, and I think it's so off-putting to me now, so I don't eat almonds ever. I have all these almonds in my pantry I gotta figure out what to do with. Besides make almond milk, because apparently homemade almond milk hurts my stomach. I can't figure out why. I've switched to pecans. I love them. I love how soft they are. I love the sugar-coated ones in the holidays. Oh, so good. But I would put these in brownies and cookies, but nobody else in my family seems to like those. Do just a little bit more. So I'm making this obviously in November, and it's not going to be at my Thanksgiving table, but I think this is a common holiday pie. So I'm curious, what holiday pies do you have at Thanksgiving? We always had apple pie, and I'm pretty sure my mom did pumpkin pie too. And then Matt's family does sweet potato pie, which I have tried to mimic in the past and can never replicate. So it's one of those things I don't bother. That's one thing that his mom makes really well, so we'll just let her make that really well, and we can have it when we see them as a special treat. All right, I think my butter's done. Okay, so my butter is mostly melted, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna first pour the butter in my measuring cup. Make sure I get all of this in here. So I'm going to kind of swirl this around my measuring cup, and you're probably saying, Missy, what in the world are you doing? All right, here we go. Butter. I'm going to then use my greased measuring cup to measure this stuff out. This stuff is super sticky. This is Caro syrup, and there's a light and a dark. The recipe doesn't say, so I'm assuming light, I hope. It just says 1 cup of corn syrup. So I'm going to put this in that buttered measuring cup. Ugh, these things. They do expire though. The ones that I had in my pantry actually expired. I did not realize that. I was like, you know what? I'm going to Food Lion. Let me just check my syrup and see if they're good or not. Oh, for Pete's sake. Okay, so as I'm opening this, something caught my eye on the bottle. I love when manufacturers do crazy stuff. Okay, so this says, sorry, you're so close. Can you see that? Cup measure. So you pour it out to that line. Shut the front door. I wish I had read that before I dumped my butter in this cup and wasted it. So I measure out to here, and it's a cup. Easy measure. I have never seen this before. Has anybody tried this? I'm kind of hesitant. Oh, look, there's a pecan pie recipe. Hold on, let me see if it's different than the Betty Crocker. It is slightly different. Okay, I'm too scared. Have you used this measuring line? I can't do it. I'm using my measuring cup. I've already dirtied it anyway, so. The recipe actually is different than my Betty Crocker one. I love recipes on the side of products because they're usually really good. Maybe I'll have to try that one next, because let's see. Okay, so I measured out a cup of this stuff. It is not to the line, sir. Oh wait, it's going up. Hold on, I need to let it settle. We'll see if that measured a cup or not. The recipe on this bottle calls for more sugar, less butter, but more nuts. Oh my God, shut the front door. You're not gonna be able to see it because I'm tipping it. But when you have it straight, it's at that line. I have never seen that. How cool is that? So you don't even have to grease this thing. You know, it's like the little things that really make me happy. All right, let me put this in here. This is the corn syrup. I'm using light corn syrup. Again, there's a dark corn syrup. I don't know what you use that for. Someone please tell me. The recipe just says corn syrup. I hope I'm using the right one. Here we go. 1 2/3 cup sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then 3 eggs. 1 2, 3. All right. It says, whisk this till well blended. Can I also just say one more thing, that my Food Lion like moves stuff around. Where's the corn syrup in your grocery store? This used to be by the sugar. They moved it all the way down by the spices and pudding. It's like on the other side. So they have sugar on one end, spices, pudding, and then syrups. It's very weird to me. Very weird. I also went to another grocery store one time that they had it with the maple syrups in like the cereal aisle. I had to ask, I was like, where's your corn syrup? Okay, so here's my very generous cup of pecans. Where'd my little spatula go? Okay, here's another question. I have watched the Food Network and stuff where people like meticulously line up the nuts in their pie so they like float to the top and look beautiful. Obviously, I am not doing that, but I was curious if anybody else does that. You just leave them whole and then make them look all pretty. There ain't nothing saving the prettiness of this one though. Okay, so let's get all this stuff in here. Not the prettiest thing I've ever made. Bake 40 to 50 minutes until the center is set. Ooh. Okay, let me put this in the oven. Okay, so I'm gonna make one more thing. Okay, so one of my favorite things about baking is the smell that it leaves in your house, so I really hope that pie smells amazing. I think I've talked about this a little bit. I am currently intermittent fasting. I also have this earbud in my ear and I'm not listening to anything. Matt thinks that's very weird when I do that. I just honestly forget it's in there. I was listening to something when I was putting the kids down for their nap, which I'm trying to be quiet because Paul's at his door. Anyway, I have been intermittent fasting. I was doing 1 meal a day for a while. I know that sounds kind of crazy. I had some people giving me like raised eyebrows whenever family would ask about it. Anyway, I've since changed and now I have, if you don't know the terminology, they're called eating windows. So my eating window was about 2 hours before, and I just changed it recently because I felt like I needed to for various reasons. I changed my window to 4 hours of eating per day now. So I eat kind of 2 meals separated on bookends of that 4-hour window. Anyway, I've been having salad every day. I don't feel like having salad. I have turkey left over from our Thanksgiving preview, and I was like, what do I have in this house that I need to get rid of? I have a lot of wild rice. I don't even know how old it is. So I went ahead and cooked some wild rice in the Instant Pot. Whatever's left, I'm just gonna freeze. It freezes beautifully for soup. That's pretty much the only thing I use wild rice for. So I found this, you probably can't see it, I will link it below. It is Taste of Home Wild Rice Soup. So I'm gonna go ahead and make that because it sounds delicious. And it's 2 o'clock now, so it should be ready by the time I open my window around 3. But let me get going on this soup. It sounds absolutely delicious. So the first thing I'm going to do on this pot here is I'm going to throw in my butter. That's a half a cup of butter, and just let that completely melt. Then I'm going to add in the aromatics, which is carrots, celery, onion. We're just going to cook those for a few minutes until they are tender. Then I'm going to take a half a cup of just all-purpose flour, stir that around till everything's blended, and it says to cook until bubbly. I'm going to stir in a quart or 4 cups of, this is actually turkey broth from last year that I'm trying to get rid of. Bring this to a boil, stirring constantly, cook and stir for about a minute or 2. It's gonna thicken really fast. And then we're just gonna add everything else in here, which is 2 cups of that wild rice, which is already cooked, that I did in Instant Pot. I did a ratio of 1 cup of wild rice with 2 cups of water, and I cooked it for 20 minutes on high pressure and then just left it to natural pressure release probably for like an additional 30 minutes. And like I said, any extra rice, it freezes beautifully. 2 cups of cooked turkey. This is white meat turkey that I had a couple days ago. We're gonna add 2 cups of half and half, 1 teaspoon of dried parsley flakes, half a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and we're gonna return that to a boil, reduce the heat, simmer uncovered 20 minutes. And this is what it looks like when it was done. This was absolutely delicious. And I like how it didn't make an insane amount of soup because I don't need that much soup hanging around. But this is going to be my lunch probably the next couple days. And I guarantee Matt's going to want to take this to work as well. I always seem to make soup on warm days. And I think tomorrow is supposed to be like 77. So I don't know if he's actually going to want to take this soup in or not. But I don't care. This is what I'm having for lunch tomorrow.